This video is for anyone who's struggling through the process. Anyone who hasn't fallen in love, who's stressed out, who's anxious, who's worried about pending deadlines, who missed deadlines, who didn't get in the first time around. This video is for you, to let you know there is an end to the process. So the process, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the 12 years of K through 12. Let's talk about the 4 years of undergraduate. Let's talk about the sacrifices. Let's talk about the spring break trips you didn't go on. Let's talk about the observation hours you had to have. Let's talk about studying for the GRE, taking the GRE multiple times. Let's talk about the process of getting into physical therapy school. Physical therapy is definitely a journey. It's a continuum. It's a journey once you start. This isn't the end. This isn't like you get in and you make it. Once you get in, you'll find out this journey just continues. There's, oh, we got to go to clinicals. Oh, I got to find a clinical. Oh, I got to take the boards. After we pass the boards, I got to find a job. So I don't want you to be so caught up in applying to physical therapy school that you don't take time to acknowledge the process and how far along in the process to becoming you already are. And knowing that just because your process doesn't look like everybody else's process doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. Just because you've had to repeat steps in the process doesn't mean you're a failure. Just because some of the steps in your process might have to be repeated multiple times doesn't mean that it's not right. Just because you didn't get accepted to the first school, you didn't get accepted to the second school, you didn't get accepted to your desired school, does not mean that physical therapy is not for you. Today, I want to talk to you and encourage you to not get so bogged up in going through that you don't take time to appreciate where you are and how far you have come. I'm here to assure you and reassure you that physical therapy is still attainable for you, and that everybody's journey looks different. And once you get into physical therapy school and once you start talking to people, you'll see it wasn't just me. Everybody's journey was different. Everybody is going to hate the process. But I want you to fall in love with the process of becoming not just a physical therapist, but becoming a holistic healthcare provider and becoming a holistic individual by going through the process to PT. So a little bit about my journey, my personal journey. I graduated from undergrad in 3 years. It did not take me 4 years because of Hurricane Katrina, and I was in New Orleans, so some of our classes were expedited. We had class year round to try to get people graduated on time. I took advantage of that and graduated early. Unfortunately, because of the way some of the classes were worded, some stuff didn't transfer right. I actually spent 2 years after graduating from undergrad and 3 years taking the same classes over and over. I took physics 1, I think a total of 3 times, each time making an A or a B in the class, and I took anatomy twice. Took anatomy twice simply because the first time I took it at a major name university, a teaching college. Think any of your big teaching colleges. Took it at a teaching college, and they separated their anatomy and their physiology, and so the anatomy was for science major, whereas the physiology was an elective. This anatomy class I took had a full-on cadaver component to it, where we had to identify the muscles on a cadaver to earn credit for the class. And I essentially had to go to a community college with no lab portion, no nothing. I made an A in the class when I took it at this major university, and I went to a community college to get credit so that I can get into PT school. And so, same thing with physics. I took physics at my school, but because of Hurricane Katrina, they had gotten rid of the physics department, so it was worded crazy, like life science for applied science or something crazy like that, and it had to be for science majors to be accounted for physical therapy school. So I ended up having to take it again, even though I had taken it at my undergrad institution. Again, I ended up having to take this at the community college where I had already passed it, so it was a breeze for me, but it was a waste of money. And had I had a mentor, had I had something like this, I would have been able to kind of streamline the process and bypass some of that. But that's my story, that's my journey, right? That I graduated undergrad in 3 years, and I spent 2 years taking essentially the same courses over and over to get into physical therapy school. And so I got in, I only applied to 2 schools. That's a whole nother story, but I only applied to 2 schools. And I got into one of the 2, the one that I actually really wanted to go to, I got into, so it worked out perfectly. And so yeah, that's my journey. But I said all of that to say, your journey is unique to you, and I really want you to take time today just to focus on falling in love with who you are becoming and how this process is shaping you and making you a better individual because you're having to go through it. I also want you to realize that once you get into physical therapy, the journey does not end there. It's a part of the process, and you will continue this process in your career. You'll decide, what kind of physical therapist do I want to do? What do I want to specialize in? Do I want to go do a residency? And if I do a residency, where do I want to work? Where do I want to live? All sorts of things. So I just want people to be excited about the process and not be so intimidated by it, or be ashamed of their journey, that they don't take pride in acknowledging their shortcomings, which aren't shortcomings at all. They're only lessons if you learn from them. Because what I'm doing with my lessons is I'm going back and I'm helping people like you. And I'm going back and I'm telling people that just because you had to do it once, just because you had to do it twice, doesn't mean that it won't get done, right? And so as we journey into physical therapy and we fall in love with the process, I want you to take time and not be so caught up in seeing one tree that you miss this entire beautiful forest in front of you, and you miss all the little things that make you who you are. If you know somebody that's going through the process, the application process of applying to PT school, if you know somebody that's applied a couple of times and they still haven't gotten in, and you think this video would help them, would encourage them, would help them to continue to push, and to know that this isn't the end. This is just a bump in the road. It's just a part of the process. Please like, subscribe, and share this video with them. I'm so excited about your future, and I can't wait to get you in.